Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can I get confirmation that you can hear my voice in the chat, please? Thank you. We have confirmation. Hello everybody, and welcome to another live stream here on Indie Gamer Chick TV. And it's actually a giveaway stream, and today we're going to be streaming a game called Crimzon Clover World Ignition. And we actually have the developer here with us along with just the game. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, can everybody hear him all right? Let me turn the tunes down. Actually, you know what? I'm going to turn the music off for now, and we'll pull the game up here quick just to make sure everybody can hear everything. Can capture properties and Crimzon Clover. There we go.
All right, looks like everybody can hear me. That's great.
All right, we're good to go. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do?
Sure. My name's Brad. I'm a publisher, I guess you could say. I work with the developer of this game, Yatsubane, and because he's Japanese, I help him to market this game in the North American and world region.
Nice. So you're not the developer of Crimzon Clover. You're kind of just the person who ported it over to the United States region. Or so.
Yes, we helped him to localize it to Steam, actually.
So what all does that partake of between... it looks like that the game was actually originally released in 2010, but then didn't get ported over until 2013. So what all are the really big differences between the original version and the version I'll be playing here today?
There were a few steps that happened between the release of the original Dojin version and the version that we're playing now, which is the World Ignition version. After the original Dojin release, it was first ported to arcades under a digital download service that they called Nasica Arcade. Basically, it allows arcade machines to download digital versions of games and play them within the arcade cabinets themselves. Mm-hmm. And the original Dojin version was a much more, I guess, an easier game. Certain elements of it were a little bit more lenient. You had more lives in the Dojin version. The invulnerability frames that you get from bombing in the Dojin version last a lot longer. And the positioning of enemies was tweaked in the arcade version to make it more difficult. Basically, the challenge level was ramped up in a lot of smaller ways. It was tweaked in a lot of small areas to make the overall difficulty a little bit harder for the arcade version.
So that's interesting to hear that it was actually it was on arcades. And was it difficult to port the game over from an arcade machine to work well on a PC?
There were a few adjustments that had to be made. When we originally released the game, we had a lot of problems actually just getting the game to display correctly on PCs, because the aspect ratio of an arcade machine is different from the monitors that most people have at home.
Mm-hmm. They're usually a lot taller.
An arcade machine is vertically oriented, and it's 4x3, or I guess since it's vertical, it would actually be 3x4. Mm-hmm. And then the home machines are 16x9. So we had a lot of problems initially with the game appearing incorrectly in the window and not full screening properly, and it took us a couple patches to get that all worked out so that things would display nicely.
So what exactly is Crimzon Clover World Ignition?
Crimzon Clover World Ignition is an arcade bullet hell shooting game. It's very much a classic arcade game in the sense that it's a skill-based game. You hop into the game, you have very limited resources, in this case 3 lives, and you just try to get as far as you can using those 3 lives and your skills.
Now, both this game and its soundtrack are actually available on Steam, and I believe those are the keys that Indie Gamer Chick is going to be giving away over Twitter. So if you would like to try to get a chance to pick this game up through Indie Gamer Chick's giveaway for the Games Matter, be sure to talk to her on Twitter. She's got a bunch of keys she'll be giving away. I don't think the keys she'll be giving away will include the soundtrack, but where all is Crimzon Clover available, and what is its price?
Crimzon Clover is available in several different locations. It's available on Steam. It's available on the Humble Store if you want to make your game purchase a bit charitable on the side. It's also available on Green Man Gaming, I believe. And very soon it will be available on Good Old Games if you prefer your games to be DRM free.
That's good to hear. I've got a viewer on my normal live stream, which is just Mega Pie Man PhD, and he has to have everything DRM free. He cannot stand DRM. So it's good to hear that you actually do have the DRM free version on GOG.
It's coming very soon.
Oh, well, it's getting there. Do you also have Linux versions or Mac, anything like that?
Currently, we don't have a Mac version. We're evaluating using a wrapper to see if it would be possible to make a Mac version. And I've heard some people have gotten it running on Linux through a little bit of home hackery.
We've actually got a question here in chat from Falcon4 asking how much the soundtrack costs separately on its own. Now, I know the soundtrack has about 30 tracks, which is huge. But I think it's a little bit cheaper than $3, something like that.
I think it's 5. Let me double check.
Yeah, the music in this game is really good, and the thing that I really like about Crimzon Clover is when I was a kid on the PS1, I used to play the Raiden Project, which was a compilation of Raiden 1 and Raiden 2. I played both those games together all the time, and I loved the crap out of them. It's not good at them, but I still love the crap out of them. In this game, it reminds me a lot of Raiden while still being on its own. It's kind of, it's like a combination of Raiden 2 and Jamestown put together to say other shoot-em-ups and bullet hells that exist, which is actually a really cool idea and works a lot in Crimzon Clover's favor, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. I think that's an interesting comparison to make. The developer's goal in creating this game was essentially to create a shmup that he would enjoy playing. And so he kind of mashed together a bunch of his favorite shmups into something that's new and exciting and kind of this summary of all of those different influences. Specifically, I think the games he was most interested in were Dodonpachi Resurrection, and another game called Layer Section. It's also called Ray Force.
Personally, I haven't heard of either of those, unfortunately.
Any of those?
I honestly can't say. When it comes to shmups and bullet hells, those are unfortunately, that's the kind of genres that I'm not that fluent in. It's because I don't play a lot of them. It's not necessarily good at them. I know a couple because those are the ones I've actually played, but you know, shmups are pretty good. The interesting thing about shoot-em-ups and bullet hells is while they're not necessarily super popular anymore, they still have a very, very dedicated community.
Oh yes. The fan base for shmups is extremely hardcore, and I'm constantly amazed at the level of passion that they have for the genre. Every day on the Shmups forum, I'll read a thread about how somebody's restoring an arcade machine, or how they've found posters of their favorite games somewhere on the internet and printed them all out so that they can hang them up all over their walls. Or they're practicing to master this ridiculously hard game that like 2 or 3 people might have ever beaten. And it just continually amazes me.
Yeah, people, they go crazy for bullet hells, which, you know, I guess that's kind of a good thing if you're out there to make a bullet hell. Now, I don't know how well you could answer this question considering you're not the main developer of this particular title, but when I was talking with the developer from Deadly Red Cube last week, he was saying that balancing a shoot-'em-up was one of the hardest things he had to do with that particular title. Do you feel that that's kind of the same way? Finding a good balance for the game is one of the more difficult things to do for a shoot-'em-up?
Shoot-'em-ups are deceptively difficult to develop because your shoot-'em-up is almost entirely the gameplay. Like, the graphics are what you see in the game, but what's actually enjoyable about the game is the playing of it. You know, it's, if you want to compare it to a car, it's like the mechanics under the hood are what's exciting. And if you've ever played a bad shmup and then compared it to a good shmup, there are very noticeable differences if you play a bad shmup and look at the design decisions there and then compare it to a good one. Shooting games can be frustrating very easily if they're poorly designed. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the development of it goes into making the game feel like it's always fair. Like any time that you've died in the game, that it was your fault and not that the game was being unfair to you.
Right. Now, before we get started here, I want to make sure that we cover as much stuff as we can before I actually get into the game, because I've played this game, I've played about 3 hours of this game so far. It is really intense, and I don't know how good of a conversation I'll be able to make when I'm trying to not die. So, we do have a question here from chat from Kansas Sensei, who asks, do you plan on porting the game over to the PS Vita at any time?
We don't have any current plans to port to the PS Vita. Right now we're in a situation where we have to carefully balance making anything new for the game with getting it on new platforms. Because in either case, the developer is going to have to spend a lot of time porting or making content, and he can't do both at the same time because he's just one guy.
Right.
So we're kind of trying to spread awareness, and if we find that our audience is big enough that people are bashing down our doors to get this game on new platforms, then that's certainly something that we would look into.
Indie Gamer Chick is saying a little bit about that in chat right now, that Sony is really looking for shmups. So that might be something that you want to look into sometime soon. So any of those of you in chat, feel free to post questions or comments or anything like that while you can. I'll do the best that I can to try to read the chat in between explosions. And I know that Brad is as well going to be keeping track of the chat a little bit. So also, let me know about volumes. Volumes is by far the easiest thing to fix when it comes to live streaming. So if there are if the volumes are a little bit messed up, let me know and I'll try to accommodate as many people as possible. So let's actually get into the game here. I do have a comment about the game already that I had to say, and that's the fact that I find it a little bit annoying that I can't use my mouse cursor on the game's menus for the PC game. It's a bit of a shame that I have to actually use everything throughout the keyboard, since some of the keys are a little bit strange as to what does what.
Ah, yes, I could understand how that would be confusing the first time you're booting up the game.
Because I believe the arrow keys move around, and then you use X, C, and V for just about everything. I think the keys are actually rebindable in the settings. Let me check that here quickly, if I can remember which one does what. Because one of them is the forward, one of them goes back, and the other one kind of just starts it. There we go. Let's go to that.
The controls can be configured for 2 different players. And perhaps the reason I've overlooked the mouse controls before is that I usually like to play with the controller, and I'm very often playing with the gamepad. There is controller support.
Yes,
someone
Orbo,
in chat just asked.
Orbo100 just asked that.
Controller support.
I was using a controller on it a little bit earlier, but I actually like the keyboard a little bit better. Unfortunately, I can't show the settings to you because I can't find the button that opens the settings. Which is a bit of a shame.
It's the shoot button.
I'm pressing, I think the shoot button is C, and I'm pressing it, and it's not opening. But you do have a couple options. You have the start game settings. You also have a really cool thing, which is training, which we saw a little bit last week with Deadly Red Cube's game, in which you can actually go through not only every single level, but each boss fight individually and train that way so that you can get a little bit better at them. So that's actually really cool to see. Oh my goodness, I can't find... What's... There it is. It's Z. Z's the button. Was I using wrong? Okay. Is it ZXC? ZX? It must be ZX and C. Let me go back and check
Z
that.
should open settings.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it does have keyboard settings. Okay.
Indie Gamer Chick is asking, is this one of those bullet hells where nobody has varied and all complete on Steam? I believe there are several clears. I know the novice modes have been cleared many times by different people. The arcade mode has been cleared by probably half a dozen people at least. I believe there have even been a few clears of unlimited mode at this point.
Well, the cool thing about Crimzon Clover is the fact that you actually have unlimited continues. So it plays a bit like Steam's version of Metal Slug, where it's not about beating the game, because you're going to beat the game anyway. It's about beating the game well, more than anything else.
Yes. Oh, she's asking if they were specifically verified, in the sense that other people have confirmed that they actually did it, and it wasn't a hacked clear.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that they were verified, because several of the clears were done by prominent Japanese super players who will have their peers observe them while they play. So their clears, at the very least, are definitely legitimate.
We actually have a question here from Orbo100 in chat again. He says, what's the greatest inspiration behind the creation of this game? With you not necessarily being the main developer behind this title, I don't know how well you can answer this question, but you may know more about it, well, of course, than I do.
It was most likely a desire to put together two different shooting games, Dodonpachi Resurrection and Ray Force, and to kind of mash them together into one super shmup.
Alright, so for the start of the stream, I'm going to be playing on Novice. Now, this stream is going to last maybe an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour. That's the plan I have at the moment. So I might play through the game multiple times. We're going to start here on the mode that I know I can do somewhat well at. That's going to be Novice mode. And then we've got multiple game modes to pick from here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about these different game modes? We've got Boost Mode, Original Mode, Unlimited Mode, and Time Attack. Unfortunately, Time Attack and Unlimited actually are not unlocked in the Novice Mode. You have to play those in arcade. But what's the difference between all of these?
Okay, you got limited time. Pick one fast.
I'm gonna do Boost Mode, so... Okay, and I'm going to go with the Type 3 ship. You have 3 ships here, and then you can unlock the third one that I haven't got quite yet, but so far I really like the Type 3, so we're going to go with that one.
Okay.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about the differences between the modes while I attempt to not explode?
Sure. Boost Mode is... I guess you could say it's the simplest mode in the game. When you shoot enemies in Boost Mode, you build up your boost gauge. And then, once you've activated Boost, or your break mode in Boost, it remains on for the entire duration of the game until you either die or manually turn it off by bombing. And as long as your break mode is active in Boost, the difficulty of the game keeps scaling higher and higher and higher. It's an internal difficulty modifier that people call rank. Basically, the difficulty just dynamically increases the better you do at this mode. And so, Boost is very interesting because it adapts how well to your playing, and it also lets you make the game easier if you start struggling. The scoring in Boost works somewhat like this. Whenever you're in the break mode, you can siphon in star items. You can see as he's playing here, anything he blows up is dropping stars into his ship. And the closer he gets to them, the more of those stars he can siphon in. Oh, I see several comments here in chat. Please port Crimzon Clover to Xbox Live.
You never know. You never know. So, the stars are also very important because getting a lot of stars can also lead to me getting more lives throughout the game. So you really want to collect as many stars as you can possibly get. And
that is absolutely correct.
Yeah. So why don't you talk a little bit about what Boost Mode exactly is? Now, I'm in Boost, not Boost Mode, in Break Mode. Now, currently, since I'm playing Boost Mode, I am in the Break Mode, and my meter is constantly going up the longer I'm in Boost Mode, and as you explained, the longer I'm in in the break mode, the harder the game will get. But what exactly is break?
Break is the ship energy, I guess. You can see, if you look at the game, there's a little gauge there in the top right, which says bomb ready right above it. In the original mode of the game, as soon as you can fill this gauge, you can activate it to activate break mode. And in that mode, it's like a temporary offense bonus. But in this mode, the difference, as I mentioned, is that it stays on permanently. So break mode is kind of like a super weapon of sorts. It expands your area of attack, it increases your damage that you inflict to enemies. It also increases the number of lock-on shots that you can have. You can see he's using lock-on lasers to attack the boss, essentially, in addition to his shot. And in boost mode, when the gauge is completely full, it also maximizes your multiplier. You can see that there's a score multiplier above the gauge, and that increases higher and higher the further the gauge is filled.
Alright, so I think I actually got through the first level without dying. That's amazing. Okay, that's about the best I can get. I've not been able to clear stage 2 without dying. But since I did actually beat the boss, now break mode lasts until I use a bomb. And a bomb is not only is a screen clear when it comes to most enemies, but it also gets rid of all of the bullets that are currently on the screen, which is something that I really like about Crimzon Clover, is how it does bullet clearing. Now, a game like Raiden, which is unfortunately, it's the only thing that I can really compare anything to, because it's the shmup I played the most. At a game like Raiden, there were some bullets that you could actually shoot, but a lot of them you had to dodge around. But Crimzon Clover does this really cool thing where if you destroy the thing shooting the bullets, you also destroy the bullets, which I really, really like that.
Mm-hmm. That's especially true of the unlimited mode of this game. Anytime you get a full lock on unlimited mode, all of the bullets that those enemies were shooting are cleared. And I believe that's also true of any large enemies in the other modes, too.
So currently I'm actually playing as the Type 3 ship, but there are multiple ships to pick from, and then the secret unlocked one. You're going to want to go over a little bit about how each ship really operates and what the unlocked one is?
I'm sorry, I was just reading chat for a second. Indie Gamer Chick was saying you can shoot the bullets. Now I really wish I could play it. She might be frightened to know that sometimes the bullets even shoot more bullets at you.
There's I think this game actually has some missiles that you can shoot out of the sky, but those are few and far between.
It does.
You also have the thing about Crimzon Clover that is a little bit annoying is that these levels also have mini-bosses, and each boss, unlike normal bosses, mini-bosses don't have multiple stages, but they're still a lot harder to take out than your normal enemies.
Oh, you don't like the mini-bosses?
I like them, but it's... You know, it's one of those things that I like it, but because it makes a challenge, but I also don't like it because it makes a challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, they're really cool. Some levels actually have multiple mini-bosses, like the final level. There's about 5 stages in this game, right? I think.
That's right. The 5th stage is extra long.
Yeah, it's got
so it's kind
a
of
couple
like
mini-bosses in it. And when we get there, I will talk about how much I despise parts of that stage so much. Oh, there's a lot
You're doing well so far. I don't think you've gotten hit.
Not yet.
I've said that, and you're going to get hit now.
Yeah, we're still only on stage 2, but yeah, like I said, I've mostly practiced the novice boost mode. That's the one that I'm best at. When it comes to the actual arcade modes, I'm not able to do all of that. But something that I do have a big question about is on the right-hand corner of on the left-hand corner of the screen, not the right. On the left-hand corner of the screen, underneath my lives, there are these different symbols that pop up every now and then, and I don't know what those are, nor what those do.
Those are medals. They correspond to how far you've gotten in various modes on 1 credit. So when you complete a mode without continuing, you'll see a nice little trophy appear there to kind of commemorate the occasion.
This game... Oh my goodness. This game does have Steam achievements, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
So, if you're in a Steam... It also has Steam trading cards!
The trading cards are really cool looking.
Yeah, they're actually cool. Last week,
They're
Indie Gamer Chick and I were going at it about Steam trading cards. Steam trading cards make people buy games. It's true.
Just by itself?
It happens. It happens. There are a lot of games out there that people are kind of drawn in. Oh my goodness! I got a bomb every 2 seconds.
There's an item that the boss drops which restores your bomb arrow so that you can bomb more frequently.
I know that.
The recover icon.
I saw that. There's a couple things. There's extra lives. There's extra stars. There's a recover, and there's a there's energy. So you get energy to your bomb meter, and that's something that's actually I kind of like, and I kind of don't like the mechanic with the bomb meter, because the more you use the bomb, the longer it takes to ready the bomb meter again, which is cool because it means you don't rely on bombs, which is something that happened to me with a game like Ghost Pilots. I was playing, I played a little bit of an old shmup called Ghost Pilots, where I had to rely on bombs constantly in that game, because that game is insanely difficult. But you can't really rely on bombs in a game like Crimzon Clover, which I like because it means that you have to actually do well. But again, I kinda don't like it because it means I don't have bombs to fall back on, you know what I mean?
Yep. I'm gonna read a question from the chat here really quick. Let's see, where was it? Are all types of USB gamepads and arcade sticks supported by the game? Yes, we try to support as many as possible. I can't say that every single one that's ever been made is supported by this game, because there are limits to what we can test, but whenever we find one that's incompatible, we try to fix it so that it is compatible, because we think that arcade sticks and controllers are the most fun way to play.
Now, I have played this game with a controller. I was using an Xbox 360 controller, and I liked it, but I like the keyboard better, which is surprising, because I know a lot of people say that for shmups and platformers, pretty much you want some kind of an arcade stick or some kind of controller, but I actually like the keyboard, which I don't necessarily know if that's a good or bad thing.
I say play with whatever you're comfortable with. It's actually a subject of discussion in the shooting games community, what the best controller actually is for playing shmups, and the consensus is that just play with what you like. If you love the keyboard, then more power to you.
This guy sucks playing him on arcade mode. I really like how it's not, when it comes to the different difficulties, it's not just that, okay, you get more lives or enemies die quicker. They actually completely change their patterns for the different difficulties, which is a little bit annoying to get used to, because it's not as easy to practice some of it by practicing on the earlier thing, but it's also kind of interesting to keep things constantly changing and keep things constantly different. I like this bomb on that.
Look at the differences between the shot patterns in the different modes as the game's content, because this is a 5-stage game. If you're playing it just to explore the game, then you can get through that in maybe an hour. But if you're talking about learning the different patterns and all of the different modes, that's your content of the game, where you can really, dig into the learning of that and spend, 50, 100, maybe more than that, mastering how to evade all of the different patterns and getting high scores in the different modes.
Now, unlike Crimzon that we showed off last week, this game actually handles collision a little bit differently. Now, with Crimzon, basically, the size of your ship, the middle of your ship, was what your hitbox was, and if that got hit, then you would explode. But Crimzon Clover handles it a little bit differently to actually give you a lot more of a leeway when it comes to all the bullets being thrown all over the screen.
Very helpfully, the hitbox of the ship is only that small yellow gem in the exact center of your craft. And that helps you weave through all of these really dense bullet patterns that we have here. I find it gives a big sense of excitement, because you can get away with needling through a small pattern of bullets that you thought maybe you wouldn't be able to avoid, but you were able to because your ship looks a little bit bigger than it actually is for the purpose of getting hit.
And there have been multiple times where I've been in just the hail of bullets, and I thought that I was going to get hit, and then I came out alive, which it's something that's when it comes to games like this, I have a little bit of an issue with it, since it's hard for me to remember that it's not my ship that gets hit, it's a little spot in my ship that gets hit. But it's nice to have something that unexpected, like, I think I'm going to die. Oh, I didn't die because it's actually a little tiny pixel on the screen, not just the actual hull of the ship, and you just get hit.
It takes a little bit of getting used to get the feel of your ship. After you play for a few hours, you start to get very comfortable with where the hitbox on your ship actually is.
Also, by the way, this music is freaking awesome. I love it!
I'm glad that you like it.
It is filled with arcade goodness.
The boss themes are awesome. My favorite themes are probably the Stage 2 theme and the theme that plays when you fight against the true last boss. Those are my personal favorites.
I don't know if we're going to be, like I said a little bit earlier to you, I don't know if we're going to make it to the true last boss, but I'm going to give it my best shot to try to actually show that guy off within the actual game. Because
we're gonna see it.
We're going to see it nonetheless.
If we don't reach him in this run, we're going into practice mode. 'Cause that guy is like the best part of the game.
That guy is insane. Oh, dang it! I was out of bombs.
For this attack, you need to circle around him kind of slowly.
Yeah. My problem with it is I end up getting cornered.
Yep. Going back to what you said earlier about bombs, I find that Crimzon Clover is pretty liberal about bombs as compared to other bullet hell games. A lot of shooting games typically give you 3 bombs per life, but Crimzon Clover can potentially give you many more than that, depending on whether you pick up the recovery items or not. You could probably get at least 5 from every gauge if you were prudent about using them.
Well, that's because, unlike a lot of old-school arcade games, or a lot of old-school arcade shmups, Crimzon Clover doesn't actually have really power-ups outside of what you get from when you beat the boss.
Uh-huh.
Everything else is either it's the meter that's given to you, or it's just what you're already starting with. And I really like that, because one of the things that was a little bit annoying in the original Raiden, they made it not as annoying in Raiden 2, but in the original Raiden, power-ups and bombs would bounce all over the screen. So not only would you have to try to dodge enemies to stay alive, you'd have to try to dodge enemies to try to get the power-ups before they bounce off of the screen. And if you die, you lose all of your power-ups. Now, right into, they actually added a really interesting thing where if you die, it will drop out all the power-ups that you had before you died, which is definitely helpful. I'm actually getting a little bit of frame rate lag right now with all the crap going on the screen, which is a bit of a shame. But Crimzon Clover, you don't have to worry about any of that because there's not really any power-ups. So you don't have to focus on just trying to dodge everything to get the power-ups. You can mainly focus on trying to stay alive.
I'm kind of glad for that.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
You mentioned Raiden, like, one of the things that was kind of aggravating about Raiden and some of the older shooting games is that some of the power-ups are actually bad for you. Like, you would be trying to get the spread Vulcan in Raiden, and then you would accidentally pick up the laser, and you're like, oh, now I can't hit things on the side of the screen.
Right. You'd have to get the same color power-up in order to make that stronger. It would just drive you crazy,
because not only were you dodging the enemies, but you're also dodging the power-ups.
Right.
Like, this is nuts.
And Crimzon Clover's got it still offers two different attack ways for you. You have your normal attack, and then if I press X, I can not only home in, but it also changes how my little ships surrounding me move. So I can actually have them all aim at one spot to do a lot of damage in one area. And every ship is a little bit different. So this ship and the Type 1 work pretty much the same, except instead of laser beams, the Type 1 shoots bullets. But the Type 2 is actually very, very different in how it operates. And for a while, I really liked the Type 2 until I tried out the Type 3. And there's no going back after the Type 3, in my opinion.
I think most people agree that Type 3 is the best for boost mode. which you're playing now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just because its high speed helps it avoid those random, unexpected bullets that you see when the difficulty of the game starts ramping up.
I despise this part of the game. Absolutely despise it.
Oh, you don't like the laser trap?
It is so...
Oh, there we go.
it is... The thing about it is, you'd think, okay, you get rid of more of the robots or spaceships or something and it gets easier, but it doesn't, because they actually go faster and shoot more bullets the more of them you get rid of. So, it's a little bit backwards, and it's really hard.
When I'm playing this section of the game, I kind of watch my hitbox very carefully, because there's always things floating near you, and you just kind of have to do the best you can within that small, constrained area.
I don't necessarily know if it's the best thing to do, but I kind of... Most of the time I'm looking about mid-screen when it comes to this game.
Well, you went really aggro on that mid-boss.
I don't like it, okay? I don't like it. The quicker it's dead, the better. Okay, there we go.
I don't even care that you have a huge row of tanks on your back. I'm just gonna fly right over you and bomb and shoot you to death.
Ah, dang it. It was, well, it could have been worse. Well, it does get worse. It actually does get worse. It gets worse later on. I was about to say it could have been worse. They could have been shooting the tanks at me, but that's a bit of a spoiler for when it gets into level 5! Oh, man. I am so surprised I have not actually got a game over yet. That is extremely surprising.
You're doing well so far.
It's highly...
Do you get this far in novice mode?
In the normal, I don't know. It depends upon the day. I've definitely noticed that, of course, the more I'm playing it, the better I'm getting at it. But the thing that I have with a lot of shmups, and the thing that I was a little bit concerned about with Crimzon Clover, is that when you just kind of look at it, it looks extremely intimidating.
It does. It's like a big, cuddly kitten. Sometimes it scratches you, but if you get to know it a little bit, you'll find it's actually really nice.
I have, because I'm kind of, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit addicted to this game. No matter how many times I've played it, no matter how mad I get at this thing, I always want to go for another run right after. It's, I don't know what it is about the game. It's just kind of, even though it's really hard, it's also just flat out fun.
It's very fun.
It's not overly frustrating.
I think the appeal of the game is just how over the top the destruction is. Like, yeah. I just find that moment where, like, you get the double break mode and you're just smashing everything into just a big pile of stars. Like, that's the moment that I just enjoy playing for over and over again.
Now, you mentioned double break mode. We talked about what break mode was, and I've gotten the first break mode before. You can get that a lot in boost mode. But what is double break? I don't know if I've actually gotten that or how that works. Oh my goodness, there is a forest of bullets.
Oh, watch out. Okay,
we're good. Oh, there's no reason why I should be alive. I should not be alive right now.
5.
Getting there. Oh,
okay, double break mode. Okay, I've mentioned already how you have a break gauge. That's in the top right.
Yeah.
You fill that up, you activate it, and you get break mode. And then, if you're playing in original mode, you can keep filling the gauge after you've already activated break mode. And if you fill it again and break again, you double break. And it's even more insane. The problem is we're playing boost mode right now, and boost mode caps you at just the first level of break mode. Yeah, that's one of the ways that a boost is a little bit more straightforward and kind of gives a bit more of a classic experience than original mode does.
Yeah, so I was, like I said before, the most I've played is boost mode, so I haven't seen the double break mode. I've seen something that seemed like I could try to get it on the normal game mode, but unfortunately, I just have not been able to live long enough to be able to get it. Because in the outside of boost mode, you don't keep break for that long, you actually have a very, very short period of time which you get to use it. Because in boost mode, it counts up, but in normal game, it counts down. So, it's a little bit tricky there. Oh my goodness, there are so many bullets. It's illegal. It's illegal to have this many bullets on screen. It is highly, highly illegal.
I wonder how many bullets actually are on screen.
I don't. It's one of the questions that I kind of had lined up for you. It's like, do you have any idea how many bullets per pixel there are in this game? It's a lot.
I know there was another bullet hell shooting game that was very famous for its bullet count called Insect Princess. And I want to say that game pushed something like 2,000 bullets on screen at the densest points.
That's insane. Just how I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to think about how that is even possible.
It's maybe better that we don't know.
Ah, so close to getting enough stars for. Oh, I didn't get a. I get to get my stars since I didn't get a game over. That's right. Stars only reset on the game over.
I think you have.
I'm close to getting another life, but I didn't want to lose a life to get a life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Crimzon Clover also has a little bit of a shield mechanic, but it's nowhere near as used or as important as... Well, I guess it's still kind of important, but it's nowhere near as used as the one in Crimzon. With Crimzon, a lot of the enemies were designed that you had to really utilize the shield if you were going to take them out. The shield, it's still there, but it only activates once you go into break mode, which is a little bit annoying.
Bombing shields you as well. You get a few milliseconds where you're invulnerable to bullets. And that is essentially to prevent situations where your bomb actually doesn't deploy fast enough to wipe the bullets from screen before you die. Basically, it just ensures that bomb will always save you if you remember to use it fast enough.
Right. I'm glad to hear that. Bombs are...
It basically makes it into a very strong panic defense tool.
Oh man, we got the wheelmobile. I never understood in a couple of shoot-'em-ups why there's almost always you have your guy who flies, you have your boat level, and then you have your giant thing on wheels. And it never made sense to me why once you go to stuff in air, why you would ever go back to wheels. Oh crap! I gotta bomb it. Oh, there's so many bullets.
Oh.
Come on! So close.
You've almost got him.
There we go! Alright.
Yeah,
all right.
I think the whole tanks and planes things goes back to just classic shooting game tradition. There's actually an aesthetic. Oh, be higher up on the screen here. Towards the middle. There's a tank that's going to come in under the
I know it's coming. It's the boss from level 2. And I hate fighting this thing. Now, I wanted to ask you this, because I'm not sure, but does letting the tanks that are falling hit the thing do damage to it?
I don't think so. I think they just fall past it harmlessly.
Because I know they explode when they hit it, and the first couple of times I was playing this, I thought I had to dodge the tanks and hit it with the tanks that were falling.
That would be a very interesting thing. I think the fastest way to destroy these things is just, yeah, you got it.
You gotta spam it with missiles.
Yeah.
There was actually one of these, I believe it was in an unlimited mode, where if you kill that thing before you get to the end of this section, they'll spawn another one on you.
It will.
And it sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah, you notice you destroyed that tank pretty early, and now the game is spawning a bunch more of these flying missile planes for you to fight.
Yeah, it's making sure that you have something to do. I got an achievement! I got the Brave Soul achievement. Thank you for helping me fill out my achievements for this game.
We're coming up on one of the most intense sections of the game.
Oh,
this is almost like a recap of 3 of the bosses from Stage 3.
It's the Stage 3 boss combined with the Stage 3 flowers. I got you. It's intense. It's really, really intense. The really cool thing about Crimzon Clover, though, is even though that it's very intense, it's also pretty hard, it's not one of those games that I don't feel like I'll never be able to do. It still very much feels like something that I will eventually be able to actually, like, beat the thing really well. And that's what I really, really like about Crimzon Clover compared to a lot of bullet hells that I've played a little bit on and off. Like I was saying a little bit about, what was it called? It was Ghost Pilot. That was Ghost Pilots. I was talking about that a little bit earlier. That game, I don't feel like I'm ever going to be able to do halfway decent in that game. But in Crimzon Clover, I actually feel like I stand a chance. And that's what's really been keeping me hooked to the game, because I feel like I stand a chance against it.
I'm reading a comment here in chat. One user was glad that the game isn't dependent on power-ups, because a lot of shooting games make you lose all of your power-ups when you die.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was a big problem with stuff like
element
Radius.
that I find appealing about Crimzon Clover is that the game doesn't penalize you very much for dying. Like, you know, sure, you're closer to losing the game, but you can get right back on the horse, and you can beat this game in a single life if you're on point. So no matter how many lives you've lost, you can still come back, and you can still win.
Now, I imagine that the original arcade version of Crimzon Clover didn't have the unlimited continue option. So getting this game on PC is actually a bit of a boon when it comes to that.
It does have unlimited continues if you're a filthy rich person and you brought a 20-pound bag of yen to the arcade.
A 20-pound bag of quarters. Okay. That's the thing that really made a lot of shmups kind of have issue getting out there, is because a lot of people realized fairly quickly that they are quarter eaters. So when you get them out of the arcade, they're just difficult for no reason, because there's no more quarters involved.
Well, you'll be happy to know that we abandoned the freemium model, and you just pay a flat upfront fee. No more paying every time you want to put in a credit. Dude,
believe it or not, I could actually buy that someone would try that. They release the game for free, and every time you die, you gotta pay, like, you want another life, 25 cents, king.com.
Better put in another quarter.
I feel like Candy Crush all over again.
Yep. You're at the stage 5 boss, by the way.
Yeah.
If you survive for 2 more phases, we see the true last boss.
The final phase is this phase, and then the final phase are the ones that I suck at so bad. The final phase, of course, I've only got like 1 life left. The final phase is deceptively difficult. You'd think it would be a lot easier, but it's actually, I have found it deceptively difficult. Explosions. Okay.
We're gonna see why that is in just a second.
Oh yeah. Here it is.
Here it comes.
He stops shooting at you, and he just goes to ram you.
Giant bouncing ball.
Now in arcade mode, he will shoot bullets and do this at the same time.
It's absurdly hard.
It's ridiculous.
Just keep up that pattern. Just go back and forth.
Oh, we got break mode! Yeah!
You did it!
We're going to see
the true last boss.
The true last boss, who I've played against once in practice mode. Only once.
Don't be in the middle of the screen. Man. He'll appear under you and kill you.
I'm trying to. There we go. Got points. Okay.
All right, here we go. I can't hear it, but there's awesome music playing now.
There is awesome music. Now, you told me a thing earlier about this particular guy that makes this particular boss a little bit annoying compared to the rest of the bosses, even though the screen does fill with bullets. That hurt. That hurt bad. And that's the fact that bombing this guy will actually cause him to make a shield.
Yes, this guy is different from every other boss in the game in that he does not allow you to
holy crap!
Brute force your way through him.
Oh, please stop! Please stop!
Let's continue. Let's see the rest of the true last boss.
At least it doesn't automatically end the boss fight because I gotta continue.
Now that you're here, now you can see the rest of him.
He doesn't have any phases either. So unlike the other bosses, where if you get them down, their health down to a certain point, it'll blow up all the points on screen. He only has one phase, so it doesn't. You can't do any of that.
But as I was saying, this boss will shield if you bomb, so he blocks your shots temporarily while you're invincible, so that you don't have that free time while you're invincible to attack him.
Yes, and it really, really sucks.
Bomb.
I'm trying to not bomb, but I'm regretting that decision. Highly
The best
regretting
way
that
to
decision.
handle that attack is to wait at one corner of the screen and while the boss floats above you, and then move to the opposite corner just before he shoots.
This guy reminds me a little bit of the temple boss from Metal Slug 3.
Huh.
There we go!
He's dead.
Only 2 continues. Only 2. Oh, please tell me he doesn't have a
Oh
second
no!
phase.
He just flew away. There is another form there that you can fight, but I guess you have to beat the first phase of him without continuing as well.
That's insane.
That was kind of funny. He's just like, well, I'm out. He just flies out of the top of the screen.
Oh, there's another. He's got the 3 forms.
Yeah, he's got the bouncing ball form, and then he breaks out of that and attacks you again. And then he has a core that you can attack.
You're moments away from clearing the game. Try to beat the boss without using continue. That's evil! That's so evil! Why? Why do you hate me so much? Oh, man. Now, the really interesting thing about this is you can actually save what you just played, and then other people can watch your replay. A little bit like Pac-Man Championship Edition Deluxe on Steam. So that's really cool. So if you want to try to get some really interesting tips, I guess we'll call it tips. If you want to try to get some good strategies from really, really good players, then you can watch other replays. Game over. I'd imagine I get a much happier game over screen if I actually beat the boss. The final boss.
I think the ending, the victory epilogue is very satisfying. It displays some amazing English, so I hope you get to see it eventually.
One of these days. One of these days. Well, it's actually almost 7 o'clock. How many codes do you have left, Indie Gamer Chick? Have we given rid of most of the codes? Have we answered a lot of people's questions? If you have questions that you would like to ask Brad here, feel free to throw them in the chat. And I just need to know if I need to go for another run or if we are good where things are at the moment. Because we have been going for just about an hour, surprisingly. I was able to beat it just under an hour.
I can't believe that was an hour already.
I know. This game flies by. Kozio asks, what is your inspiration? We did already answer that question, but you can answer it again if you like.
Okay. Basically, the creator wanted to create a shmup that they would really enjoy playing, and so they mashed together a couple of their favorites, Dodonpachi Resurrection and Layer Section, into one super game, kind of.
Have I tried boost mode yet? I just finished novice boost mode Patashu. But we have another question here from K.
We were just playing boost, and we just missed the 1cc.
It just missed the final boss. Yeah, 3 finals in that. Well, we do have a question here from K. Burley's Head, who asks, what's Yotsubane doing now? What's he been up to?
Yatsubane is currently working on just patching the game to make it the best that it can be, making sure all controllers are compatible, making sure the display works correctly, ironing out bugs with leaderboards, just making this game the best possible game that it can be.
Is there a difference between Crimzon Clover and Crimzon Clover World Ignition, or is the World Ignition part the subtitle for the PC version?
World Ignition is the subtitle for the PC version, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to know if they were like different versions of the game. Has he had any thoughts on making another Crimzon Clover, or if he had any thoughts on doing any other kinds of games, or is he still at the moment mainly focusing on getting this game as good as he can get it?
I know that he's been working on another game. I don't know how far along he is with it right now. A while back, he showed footage, really early alpha footage, for a game called Garukilla, which is actually a horizontally scrolling shmup. I don't know if he's still working on that now, or if he's working on another project, but I think whatever he decides to make next, it will almost certainly be another shooting game, because I know that the developer is a huge fan of the genre.
We have a question here from Indie Gamer Chick right now, who says, what is the toughest thing about marketing Crimzon Clover to the shmup crowd, since it is very niche and very saturated?
Honestly, I wouldn't say that Crimzon Clover is difficult to sell to the shmup crowd. I think a lot of them were... There was a lot of word of mouth about the game initially when it came out, because people were kind of literally mind blown by how good Crimzon Clover was for an indie title. And so we had a lot of very strong word of mouth from the very beginning, and I think a lot of the hardcore shmup fans bought it pretty much as soon as they could get their hands on it. And even more so when we released the Steam version, because it was a lot easier to track down than buying a physical disc and importing it from Japan.
Mm-hmm. That's understandable.
What's difficult is marketing it to people outside of the shmup community and trying to convince the mainstream crowd that this is a really exciting game, that it's enjoyable, and that it's not as impossible as it appears.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I'm not, like, huge into the bullet hell crowd, but I love it. I love pretty much everything about it. So, you got me sold, at least. We have another question from Indie Gamer Chick, who says, do you think American bullet hell indie devs might be able to reverse the situation, such as find an audience in Japanese arcades?
I think they certainly can. If they make a game that's good enough, I don't see why a game like Jamestown wouldn't be appealing to a Japanese audience.
That makes sense. Jamestown is a really good shooter, and it really expects you to be better at the game, because the later levels in Jamestown, you can't play those on easy. You can only play like the last level of Jamestown on expert difficulty, which kind of annoying, but yeah, it's there. So it seems like Indie Gamer Chick does actually have a couple more codes to give away. They seem to be some sort of an issue when it came to giving away the codes. So I think we might do another run through of the game here, and I will let you pick what I do.
Well, let's see here. We should probably look at unlimited mode just for a few moments, just to see how crazy that mode is.
We can do it. I've beaten it on unlimited, but it was only because this game has unlimited lives.
Let's see how far we can get on 3 continues. How's that?
Level 1, maybe? Alright, we'll try it. Indie Gamer Chick has another question here, which is, any plans
for a Dreamcast port?
Yeah, Dreamcast port. Now, I have heard, I don't know how true this is, but in places like Brazil, the Dreamcast is actually still being developed. Also, what chip? What chip should I use?
I'd go with Type 2.
Type 2? Got it.
Yep.
The Type 2 is really cool because it's sort of, as you can see here with the tutorial, its little helper things actually move around, and then when you hold down the home in button, they stop moving, and you can lock them on the screen. So it's very good for covering, like, the whole screen. There we go.
Yeah, going back to the Dreamcast thing, Dreamcast games are still being developed.
Yeah, there was just a Dreamcast RPG that came out on Steam the other day, which was highly surprising, in my opinion. I did not expect to see that.
It's kind of amazing, but, you know, I think it's just like the fans that like to make NES homage games. People just have a real fondness for that console.
Oh my goodness, there are so many bullets! That is just wrong!
That was awesome.
That is so wrong! Pierre Solar, yeah, that's it. I gotta use the bomb already.
This is the unlimited mode of the game, and this is the hardest difficulty setting, and the most monstrously difficult thing that the game can throw at you.
This is evil mode. This is hate you.
Evil mode.
Why did you buy our product? Please, we hate you so much. That's what this is.
This is for people who are masters of the genre. If you want a challenge, this is it.
Oh, I lost all my lives already.
It even has evil music. Extra evil music for this
Extra
mode.
evil music. It's so
by the way, you can go into the settings and you can change it so that any mode in the game will play the evil music if you want it to.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Kind of like a customized radio. Can you pick any of the tracks for specific? Oh,
You can even mix and match them.
Break mode. Now, as you might be able to tell right now, I don't know if you can tell because I'm dying a lot, but break mode actually works a bit differently in this mode than it did in boost mode, because we're not in boost mode. So break mode I actually have to activate by pressing the bomb button when I get high enough on it, and break mode still ends when I use a bomb or when I die, which is happening a lot. Quite a lot. Here's a fun thing for the chat. Guess how many quarters it's going to take for me to actually beat this game? Every continues 25 cents. That's great. Oh my goodness, that's wrong.
Games Matter player who posts a YouTube video of them clearing the first level of this, they will get every code for Games Matter through November. They must scream Games Matter when they do it. I don't know if you should say that, Indie Gamer Chick. I think you are just giving away some free keys to some hardcore shmuppers.
Oh, it's the boss. I've already gone through 50 cents. Nope. There goes 75. There's 75.
I just wanted to show this mode just a little bit, just because of how utterly mind-blowing it is to see that many bullets on screen at once.
Dude, I'm up for it. I'm up for just about anything. I can never promise I'll be any good at it, but I am up for it. I will take on that challenge, and I'll probably die. Oh, man.
I think that's two.
That's like $1 right there. That's 4 down. It looks like Tyron 2000 mixed with Raiden. It does feel very Raiden. The music is very Raiden. The art style is very Raiden, which I really like. I never played Tyron 2000 though. The main theme reminds me a lot of Raiden as well, which is really cool. But it's actually interesting when you say that Raiden wasn't one of the inspirations behind this.
I mean, to say that Raiden is an inspiration on a shmup game is, you know, it's almost guaranteed, because Raiden was such a huge influence on the genre. I want to say when Raiden came out in 1990, it was the most popular arcade game for 36 months straight.
Holy
Try
crap.
to wrap your head around that. Try to imagine a game coming out now and being #1 for 3 years.
That's insane. Also, I got an achievement!
Yes!
Woo! Steam achievements.
Raiden didn't start off the tradition of having red and blue ships, but it definitely helped to solidify that tradition.
Well, that reminds me, this game does have multiplayer. You can play 2-player, but does it have online co-op?
Indie Gamer Chick wants to see some proof for that statistic I just put out. I'll mail that to you later.
Reg mode and dead. This is so wrong. This is just wrong. It's not that it's hard, it's just wrong, you know? Oh, I'm dead. But yeah, I don't know if you heard my question before, but I saw that this game does have 2-player. Is it only local 2-player, or does it have any kind of online 2-player, or any plans for online co-op?
Indie Gamer Chick, I believe that's in arcade sales. Sales of arcade circuit boards.
Okay, I'm alive. Holy crap. You can see, since I'm on the blue ship, it's a lot easier to see the little yellow pixel. Oh, you've gotta be kidding me.
Whoa, dude, you just survived that attack. That was awesome.
I don't know how.
You just dodged that like a pro.
Oh, this is insane. This is ridiculous. I have my eyes glued to the little yellow dot on the ship, and they're not moving. Oh!
And I would like to point out, for the sake of posterity, that as crazy as this mode is, there are people that can beat this without continuing.
Oh, I'm not surprised about that at all. Not at all. People are insane. Especially when it comes to bullet hells, when they have... How in the world did I not die there? When they have a really, really die-hard fan base.
It's basically an unwritten rule that your shmup must be beatable in 1 credit. If it's so hard that you can't do that, then it's too hard. It's not a good game anymore.
That does lead me to the question, if you know, or if you yourself, do you know if Yatsubane has beaten his own game, or have you been able to beat this game in, like, 1 credit or something like that?
I can 1 credit this game on Novice mode. Any higher than that, and I struggle. Arcade mode is still a little bit too tough for me, because it's a pretty big difficulty jump from Novice.
Mm-hmm.
I can guarantee that Yatsubane has beaten his own game, because Yatsubane is... When he's not developing games, he's also a very high-level arcade player. It's been rumored that he's a player named Clover Tack, who actually has world records in a few shmups.
Mm.
So, I would imagine his scores in this game are very good.
Well, that would make sense for someone who plays a lot of shmups, or is very good at shmups, to be developing their own. So they're kind of...
Yeah.
They know what they're doing, basically.
Yeah,
So it makes a lot of sense.
I imagine he's essentially, like, very good at them, and so he's like, well, I've had a lot of fun playing all of these other ones. These are the elements of playing for score and shmups that I like, so let me design a game that has all of my favorite elements in it.
Right. It's also kind of a thing where he can sort of... Now, I could imagine that could actually be a little bit difficult to... Whoa! Jeez! That could be a little bit difficult to try to... make a good difficulty curve, considering if you're really, really good at it, you also have to be able to make a good difficulty curve so someone who's not as good at it will have a decent time, which Crimzon Clover does a very good job at, and I can imagine that would be kind of difficult, considering the high level that he might be at.
Yeah, basically you have unlimited mode for the crazy people like Yatsubane. You have arcade mode for people who are veterans of the genre and are fairly well practiced.
You have novice mode for the sane people.
People who've never played a shmup. And it breaks down very nicely for the difficulty curve.
Okay. I'm sorry. I can't do that.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh,
we got to look at it.
I don't know. It's like I could keep going, but it's just going to be continue bomb, continue bomb, continue. That's going to be it. That's going to be the whole thing. All right. So let's go back to the menu screen. Let's try something a little bit simpler.
If you would like to do another run, then we should probably just show a novice original.
Yeah, I can do that. I'm up for that. Because I want to make sure that we keep going here for a little bit, just to make sure that we have a majority of the keys given out. So if you're liking the game you see here and you do not own Crimzon Clover and you would like to win Crimzon Clover, then talk to Indie Gamer Chick. She's given out a crap ton of keys for it. I haven't played as Type 1 yet, so I think I'll play as Type 1, and I don't have Type Z unlocked. What all do I have to do to actually unlock Type Z, anyway?
Type Z is unlocked automatically when you earn 30 million star items overall throughout the course of playing all of your runs, cumulatively. So basically, if you just keep playing the game, you will unlock it eventually.
So it's not like something that... it's something that all players will eventually be able to unlock. It's not something that only people with a certain skill set will be able to actually unlock.
Nope, everybody gets to see Type Z eventually, if they just keep playing.
Now, how does Type Z actually work? Do you feel that it's worth the grind?
Type Z is kind of like a super version of Type 1, which you're playing now. It has an even wider bullet spread, and when you switch to the focus mode, the shots narrow more. So it has a wide range of attack, or it can be very focused. And that makes it maybe a little bit more powerful than the other ships overall. And its speed is also fairly fast. Not as fast as Type 3, but faster than the other ships. So it's kind of like the overpowered ship type that you get as a reward for playing the game for a certain amount of time. It actually looks like a miniature version of the final boss.
What's the overall preferred one that you see a lot of people really like? Or is it more by game type that they're playing for what ship they use?
A lot of people like to play with Type 1 because it kind of feels like the most classic experience of having the spread shot weapon and then narrowing it into the focus shot weapon. But different ships kind of feel a little bit better for different modes than others. Like I mentioned earlier, Type 3 feels just a little bit better for boost.
Oh my goodness, I got a double break.
Yeah,
that's
your double
insane.
break. You got it.
That is insane. Also, I got an achievement.
And you can see you're just hitting the whole screen now.
I love it! I love it. I want more of it.
Now you want to get double break all the
Every time. Oh man, that's going to be even harder, because now when I get the break, I'm going to be like, well, I could use the break and stay alive, but if I just hold out a little bit longer... it's going to become one of those things that's almost too good to use, you know?
That's basically how scoring in this game works.
Ah, that was a waste. That was a waste.
To score well in this game, basically you just want to get a big lock-on multiplier by destroying something with your lock-on weapon, you know, a max lock, and then activating break mode, and then going straight up to double break, and then you're multiplying all of your points multipliers together at the same time, and you can really rack up a lot of points in star items that way. And it also helps you, of course, because the more star items you get, the more extends you get, the more extra lives, so you get to play in the game longer until you have to continue.
Now, I know we talked about controllers a little bit earlier, but was it that hard to find a good default setup for the keyboard? I know that Crimzon, that we played last week, it mainly used the mouse. But instead, this game uses the arrow keys.
I found that it varies quite a lot between shooting games, actually. It depends on what feel the developer is going for. I find a lot of people who are going for a more modern, updated feel try to take advantage of the mouse and fully take advantage of the PC platform. But this one, originally being developed for arcades, has more of a classic feel, and I think using keyboard controls was the most direct way to translate the feel of using arcade buttons to the computer, the closest way that we could come up with.
You can change your keys, of course, but is there a mouse option for those who may want it?
I don't think mouse is enabled in this game, no.
Yeah, I know it wasn't enabled at all for the menus, which I said a little bit earlier, a little bit annoying, but once you understand the controls, it's not too bad. But I've seen that for a lot of Japanese games that I've played. I haven't played a crap ton of Japanese games, but there was a game that came out on Steam called, what was it? It was like Armored Hunter Gunhound EX, I believe. That was a great platformer. But it did not do a good job at telling people what the buttons were. It had a tutorial, but the tutorial was like, press the jump button to jump. And you could try to set the keys, but it did not do a great job for setting the keys. So I know there have been a couple of Japanese games that have had issues really trying to work on the PC. Do you know about any decision to actually make the missile the exact same button as the focus attack? Because That's interesting things to be putting together. It's good because it means there's less buttons you have to memorize, but it's strange to have to combine both of those together, especially when you have the missiles and bombs as well, instead of having the missiles and bombs on a similar key.
I'm sure it was intentional. I think it's essentially just to create a little bit more thought about when you're using the lock-on, because whenever you do use the lock-on, it slows you down a little bit. So you have to think a little bit strategically about using it. There are times when you might want to slow yourself down manually in order to avoid a tighter spread of bullets that a boss might be shooting at you. And there might be a time where you would decide to forego it and not use lock-on for a little bit because you need that extra speed to circle around a fan of bullets, as an example.
Was that something that was in the arcade version as well, that those were both on the exact same button?
Yes. The controls have remained the same since the Dojin version.
Alright, so feel free to ask questions in chat if you have any questions about what's going on. I'll do the best that I can to try and read them for what I can actually get done here. But the main layout for the game, you do have this small screen within a bigger screen, but you actually do use up a good amount of that space with the stuff you have on the left. When it came to the actual arcade version, where was all of that on screen?
You actually wouldn't see it, because in the arcade version, the area that you see now in the center of the screen would actually perfectly fit the display of the arcade machine. Because that's what the aspect ratio is designed for. And it was actually the borders had to be added for the PC version to accommodate the widescreen format. One thing that you can do in this game, there's a display setting in the options where if you have a display that you can rotate, like an LCD that you can switch into portrait aspect, you can actually rotate the game so that it will display vertically, and then the borders will be even smaller.
That's pretty cool. Oh, okay. Relax. So all of the thing that showed your lives, the thing that showed your break time, as well as any medals you got, all of that was added to specifically the PC version.
The lives would still be visible in the arcade version.
They would just be
wouldn't
elsewhere.
Be in the location that they're at now. Medals were added to PC. They're kind of like a form of achievement. So that was just something we added because we thought people would enjoy having that on PC. And as for the break display, I'm trying to think where that would display on the Nessica version. I think it's still there. That's an interesting question.
Give me that one up.
Yep.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. I'm glad we've gotten to see some double break as well. We've gotten to see the 3 main ship types. We've gotten to see the 2 main modes of the game. We've gotten to see double break and the final boss, so we've seen a lot of this game.
Is there anything specific that we haven't seen yet that you would like me to show up before we wrap up?
We haven't seen time attack yet. If you'd like to take a look at that.
Nope,
and
I don't want to exit the game. I pressed escape.
Oh no.
Alright, so we can actually go to time attack mode. Time attack is interesting because it's only an arcade. What was the decision to make unlimited time attack only in the arcade version instead of having novice versions of those to try to train on?
Well, unlimited and time attack mode are the more difficult modes in the game, so it's a bit redundant to have novice versions of them. Time attack mode is essentially a very dense, short stage where the stage itself is very, very difficult, but you have unlimited lives. And dying in this mode is essentially a score penalty because you lose time. And the objective of this particular mode is just to score as much as you possibly can within the 3 minutes. I'm sorry, it looks like it's a 3-minute mode.
Yeah, it's alright. The thing that surprised me the most about Time Attack mode is the fact that it's actually a different map. This isn't anywhere in the main game at all.
Yeah,
which was
this
unexpected.
is a completely new stage that was added for the arcade version. It was not in the Dojin version.
So when you say the arcade version is different than the original version is different than the PC version, so there's 3 versions of this game?
That would be correct.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know all the terminology, so when you say the Dojin version, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Okay, I'll explain that. The Dojin version is the indie version. That was the version that Yatsubane put out first, and at first it was only available through conventions. Like, you had to go to Yatsubane and you had to order a homemade CD from him in order to play the game. And eventually the game became so popular that, like I mentioned before, they ported it to the arcades. So there were some changes that they made at that point in order to make it challenging enough to appeal to the hardcore arcade player market. And he essentially just tightened up the game there because it had been successful. He took the time to increase the resolution of the graphics. As I mentioned, he made some difficulty tweaks. You know, it essentially just improved the game overall. And then the Steam version that we're playing now is not too different from the arcade version. The main things added for the Steam version were the inclusion of the achievements, the inclusion of the global leaderboards, the Steam version specifically, and some of those medals there, I believe, were added for the Steam version. So essentially things to take advantage of having more online features, especially.
The original version of this game came out in 2010, and then the PC version came out in 2013, or was it 2014?
I want to say it was 2013.
So that's about a 3-year difference there. And when did the arcade version come out?
Let me look that up right now, actually. I want to say the arcade version was in 2012.
There's so many bullets!
Oh,
Wow, there's still bullets!
I'm actually wrong. The arcade version came out in 2013, and the Steam version is 2014, so...
Is that, like, the normal time for a game like this? The normal time scale that it would take about 3 years to get an arcade version, and then another year to get a PC release?
I think it probably took longer than usual in this case, because Yatsubane is a very exacting developer. As I mentioned, he's pretty much a one-man team composer that he works with to make the music. But other than that, he does all of the work for the game himself. So even before the Dojin version came out, he worked on the game for like 2 or 3 years before that. And then he spent another 3 years polishing the game up to bring it out in the arcades. And finally, even a little bit more time to implement the Steam features. So, in total development, this game has actually been in development for about 7 years at this point. It really is a game that he's extremely passionate about working on.
Is that that much... wow. Is that much different from other shoot-'em-ups that you guys have worked with? Now, you've mostly poured over from the Japanese version or whatever arcade version, I don't know which, to the United States marketplace. And I don't know necessarily how many different games or shmups you specifically worked with, but is that about the normal kind of a development time that you've mostly worked with, or is that a bit more, is that a bit shorter?
I think most games would be developed in a shorter time. Probably 2 to 3 years would be average for an indie game, if I had to guess.
How many games have you guys actually ported over? I didn't check your list on Steam to see if you had multiple ones over there.
There are a lot. Our most popular title is RPG Maker, and Crimzon Clover is kind of our first experiment in shooting games, and this was the best possible one to pick, honestly. Like, if I had my choice of releasing any indie shooting game, this would be it, because I think this is one of the best indie shooting games. A lot of the rest of our games are actually RPGs that were developed in RPG Maker, so indie RPGs, essentially.
Well, that makes sense, since you guys are the ones who ported over in RPG Maker, that you would also be the ones to port over RPGs made in RPG Maker.
Yep. One of my other projects right now, we just finished up a competition, actually, for indie developers to make games in RPG Maker. And one of my projects in the next coming months is going to be working with people who won that contest and seeing if they would like to develop their RPGs that they made for this contest into games that they could sell on Steam.
That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to hear. RPG Maker is one of those systems that, unfortunately, sometimes gets a little bit of a bad rap, but it's still, from what I've heard of people who've worked with it, it's still a pretty good thing to program to work with.
I think it's a fine tool. I think it's especially great for people that are looking to get their feet wet and get started with indie development, because it assists you with a lot of development tasks.
Mm-hmm. Sorry if I don't talk a lot here, but I'm trying to dodge everything.
Frantic dodging. This is.
Oh, I got an item in my inventory. I got another Steam trading card. Yes! I needed that. I needed those. I love those. I want somebody to make a Steam trading card game. I don't know how it would play at all. I don't know if they would make it more like kind of like a Magic the Gathering kind of card game or something else. I don't know. But some kind of card game on a Steam trading cards I would love to see. I just can't kill that boss.
You have to beat him fast.
It's close. I get about halfway. Okay. I think I'm good with my dose of Crimzon Clover for today.
Are you reaching the point of burnout?
I think we got there. I think we finally got there. So we'll give a few more moments here for anybody who may have a couple more questions to throw them in chat. Questions, comments, anything you would like to ask Brad while he is here. Anything you want to know about the game that he can answer. Anything you want to know about what his company does with porting over titles. Anything at all. Feel free to throw them in chat. I think Indie Gamer Chick still has a couple of codes to give away, so if you do like the game you see here and you didn't hear before, or you just weren't here before when I said this before, be sure to check out Indie Gamer Chick's Twitter. That's at Indie Gamer Chick. She's giving away a crap ton of copies of this game. If you want one, you gotta go there and ask her for it. It's not really a competition, it's just first come, first serve. You ask, you'll get one if she still has keys left to give out. So let's see here if anybody throws any more things into the chat here quick before we finally wrap up. Yeah, she said she'll be giving them out for a while, so there's still more things to go. Oh, that's intense. It's like even though it's only been an hour and a half, it kind of feels like it's been a bit of a marathon, honestly. Which, well, I gotta like. I gotta like.
You were playing another arcade game before this, too. You were playing Super Cyborg.
Yeah, I was streaming Super Cyborg on my channel before this, and that game is impossible. That game's not... This game's hard. That game's impossible, quite honestly. It's fun, but it's impossible. So, we'll give a few more moments here to see if anybody throws anything in chat. Anything at all?
Yeah, you put up a really great boost run. I think if you keep sticking at it, I think you'll get a 1 credit clear very soon.
I'm gonna do it. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. Indie Gamer Chick TV asks, what is the hardest non-shmup you have ever played?
Let me think here. That would probably be XCOM Iron Man Impossible. That game is so ball-busting.
It's like, I can't imagine. I haven't played XCOM. I own a couple of them. I haven't played them yet, but I do play a lot of RTS games, and those are insane. In kind of because the computer cheats. And
yeah,
it cheats bad.
The problem with XCOM is that it is very random number dependent. So there are some times in XCOM where you can play absolutely perfectly and still get screwed.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the early game of it is extremely difficult. You have to escape that phase where the random number controls you and get to the mid-game.
Yeah, it's gotta be a little bit annoying having the randomness thrown in the midst there. It can actually be fun sometimes because it makes that every time you play it's a little bit different, but when you're playing a game that's on a high difficulty, it being a little bit different makes it sometimes harder. I was streaming Hotline Miami yesterday, and that game's got a little bit of RNG mechanics thrown in it to how things act differently, and it kind of messes you up because you get into sort of trying to memorize what's going on, and then someone does something different, and it ruins everything. So I can kind of understand what you're coming from. We have Kyo Zero asks, what is the hardest bullet hell you've ever played?
What's the hardest bullet hell?
Yes.
Well, I usually find it more enjoyable to play bullet hells that I can play at kind of a competent level. But I have played Insect Princess 2 before, and if you've ever seen on YouTube, there's kind of an infamous video called The Hardest Boss Ever. And that shows Insect Princess 2 on its hardest difficulty setting, which is rumored to be one of the hardest games, the hardest fair games ever made.
Wasn't that the game you were saying earlier had like 2,000 bullets on the screen at once?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Personally, I think I'm going to try to keep my sanity and stay away from that one a little bit. But I think that's pretty much all we got for today. So thank you very much, Brad, for talking with me today. It was a great time chatting with you. It was a great time playing your game. I'm definitely going to keep playing this because it's a lot of fun. Do you have Facebook, Twitter, any contacts, anything you want to throw out there before we finally wrap up the stream?
Sure, I'll drop my Twitter in chat here.
All right.
And I'll go ahead and drop in as well the Steam page for Crimzon Clover. If you happen to miss the promotional giveaway, we are having a Steam sale for the whole week. As I mentioned, if you prefer DRM free, there will be a Good Old Games release very soon. I don't know the exact date on that yet, but it would probably be within the month.
Have you had any thoughts of checking out something like Glyph or Indie Game Stand?
I'll have to check into that.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Brad, for talking to me today. And be sure, to those of you in chat, if you'd like to keep up with what's going on, be sure to follow him on Twitter. Check out the Steam page. If you don't get a free copy, then you can actually pick this game up. You can pick up the game as well as its 30-track soundtrack. The game, I believe you said the game was like $15, if I'm correct?
It's $14 if you get it at full price. It's $10.50 right now because it's discounted. If you get the deluxe version that includes the soundtrack,
and the soundtrack on its own, is $5.
Just by itself, it's $7.50.
Okay, so this game's $7.50 on its own. Soundtrack's $5, and together they're about $14. So they're actually on sale right now. So if you are unable to pick up a copy, you'll be able to pick them up right now on Steam, which is actually really cool and pretty good timing. So yeah, check all of that stuff out.
Question here.
Sure.
Indie Gamer Chick is asking if there's a bundle. We did do a bundle a little while ago, and I have heard something. I probably am not allowed to say a date, but there might be another bundle soon.
By bundle, does she mean like a bundle on Steam or like a Humble Bundle?
like a Humble Bundle.
That'd be cool to see this game on Humble Bundle. That'd be a good way to get it out there to people who may not, or may feel a little bit intimidated just by looking at it.
Yeah, picking up a shmup in a bundle is a good way to get it, because then you can try several shmups at the same time and kind of see which one appeals to your personal preferences the most.
Mm-hmm.
And also you get all of the games cheaply, of course, so there's not as much of a risk of trying them.
Oh, she meant a Steam bundle. That way you can get the soundtrack and game together. I believe you do. I believe you do have that. Is that going to be on GOG as well, where you'll have both the game and the soundtrack?
Oh yes, yeah. You can get the game and the soundtrack bundled together on Steam, if that's what you were asking.
All right. So I guess we'll give a few more seconds here just to make sure everything's going over with. I don't want to leave anybody out, so I want to make sure that everything's gone over before we finally wrap up the stream. We'll give everyone about, like, 30 more seconds here to throw anything in chat that they want to ask before we finally put an end to the stream here. Let's see if we got anybody here quick. Alright. It seems like everyone's got everything asked that they wanted to ask. So, thank you once again, Brad, for talking to me. I loved playing the game. I think the stream actually went pretty well, and I hope a lot of people are definitely interested in checking out Crimzon Clover.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
I'm glad that everybody enjoyed watching the game.
I'm glad it actually went up. I thought the stream did pretty well. So, best of luck to you guys and your porting business in bringing other things over. And I look forward to see how Crimzon Clover shapes up over time. As you said, the guy's still working on it, so there could still a few more things that could be added later on. You never know.
I've just remembered something that I should say before the stream ends. We did not get to see the epilogue, so I'll just give you a little bit of English from that. The game will tell you, shooting game never die, praying that the clover of luck be always in your heart.
Oh, it's almost on par with the Ghosts and Goblins ending epilogue. I assume it was done on purpose, too. Alright. Well, I guess we'll talk to you later.
Yep, I'll be around.
Alright. See you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Brad from... Oh, crap, I forgot. It says it on here, doesn't it? Yeah, Adventure Planning Service, I believe, yes. Brad was from Adventure Planning Service. The game developer was Yoto Subane. I apologize. I'm a little bit worn out at the moment. So, thank you guys for coming out to the stream. I'm glad you guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming out. I really do appreciate any and everyone who came out to the stream. I'm a little bit worn out here, so I'm going to go play, or not play, I'm going to go do something that does not involve a lot of bullets being thrown at me. So, I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you for coming out. I have been Mega Pie Man, and I will talk to you guys later.